Nicky, thank you so much for coming on Blockchain Rock.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, as it is custom here, could you please give us a little bit of a background
Okay.
in respect of what you're doing, your past as a
Yep.
regulator at the GFSC, regulating exactly this space, financial technology and blockchain more specifically. Your current role at xReg, xReg Consulting, as one of the as one of the co-founder. So please, the floor is yours, and
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I started my career in financial services, so predominantly in banking. And then in 2010, I joined the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission. It was at the time of the financial crisis. Things were definitely changing in banking, and I decided that I wanted to pursue a different career. So I applied to the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission, and I started working within the banking and investment team as a supervisor. And during that time, I got a lot of exposure working with banks. Did a lot of work with investment companies, a lot of work with e-money institutions in particular, bureaus. So I was exposed to a wide variety of different types of financial institutions. And the way that we were set up at the time, we used to deal with, we made recommendations for authorizations. We used to deal with the supervision, with enforcement. So we did quite a wide variety of roles within the regulator.
okay.
So that's really sort of, I guess, maybe laid the foundations for me as a regulator. And then in 2014, I became the risk manager. So I was the first person, sort of the first risk manager really within the FSC. And I was fortunate enough to have been tasked with developing the risk management framework that helps the regulator to be able to identify risk to its objectives and be very forward-looking as opposed to reactive. So that was really enjoying my time as risk manager. And then in 2016, we created, in response to what was happening within the financial services sector, in response to all the new ideas, all the new products, all the new types of firms that wanted to come within the financial services sector, the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission created what was known then as the Innovate and Create team. So it was a team of individuals who all had different roles. So we all brought to the table different backgrounds, different experience. So for example, I was there as a risk manager. Then we had my colleague who was the policy manager at the time. We had representatives of IT, regulatory operations. And the idea of the team was to support firms that wanted to bring, as I said, new products to the market, new firms maybe that had never worked within a regulatory environment. Our role was there to support, to help them, to guide them. But it was also a very good opportunity for us to learn from these firms, understand how they operate, what makes them work. On the back of this, I got exposed to, at the time, it was a team of individuals put together by the Gibraltar government that were looking at the possibility of creating a regulatory framework in Gibraltar for cryptocurrencies. So I ended up taking the lead from the FSC's point of view. I worked very closely with the cryptocurrency working group, as they were known back then, with government, with the private sector, to develop what today is known as the DLT regulatory framework, which came into force in Gibraltar on the 1st of January 2018. And on the back of the work that I was doing there, I formally took over responsibility for innovation. So I became head of risk and innovation at the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission. So that again is something was a great experience for me. I was lucky enough to be involved in something really exciting. It's not every day as a regulator that you get the opportunity to work, to develop, to build something so creative as what we did in Gibraltar with the DLT framework. So,
And it has paid off, because right now the financial technology sector in Gibraltar, especially that revolving around distributed ledger technology, has blossomed. Like, we have a lot of companies which are very active in the space and known internationally. So that definitely worked. Let's say, in addition to being, an exciting project, it was also a very productive one. And how has that experience contributed to what you're currently doing, under xReg Consultants? Consultancy, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
xReg Consulting.
Consulting.
xReg Consulting.
Sorry.
So yes, over the last few years, basically what's happened is working with some of my colleagues, we've built up not only a technical understanding of distributed ledger technology, we understand the regulatory framework in Gibraltar, how it works, what the regulator is looking for when they're assessing risks that an applicant might pose to consumers, to the reputation of Gibraltar. But we also have the practical knowledge of developing a framework from scratch, all the different things that you need to consider. So, for example, for the FSC, the type of skills that you need in order to be able to successfully and safely authorize DLT providers, how to supervise them. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into account. So what we've done is, so for me, for a long time now, this idea of running my own business is something that I've wanted to pursue. And a couple of months ago, we decided to, with a couple of my colleagues, we decided to set up a new consultancy, a regulatory consultancy firm in Gibraltar called xReg Consulting. We're all ex-regulators, and I think we have something quite unique to offer to our clients.
And, well, we actually had the opportunity to interview one of the other co-founders, Sean Jones, in one of the past episodes of Blockchain Rock. And what was interesting and what emerged from that interview is that you're not only focused on consulting companies within Gibraltar. Yeah. You're consulting internationally, you're consulting governments, you're involved within the development of the law, which is what excited you in respect of your previous position. Yeah. So I guess you're providing both ends of the consultancy. You're providing consultancy to government as to how to develop the framework in relation to their custom needs, having regard to their custom needs. Yeah. And you're also consulting companies on how to secure then the license in the case of Gibraltar, or regulatory recognition and coverage in the countries where they're pursuing such an endeavor.
So yes, part of what a lot of what we want to do is to put it into context, I guess, in our view, what's happening at a global level is that, just in June last year, the FATF have just expanded their rules. So the FATF recommendations now apply to virtual assets. Yeah. And jurisdictions have 12 months in which to develop frameworks that will either regulate or at least register.
Recognize,
exactly, virtual asset service providers. So that's the likes of things which is happening as well. So, for example, if you look at Libra, for the last few years, a lot of jurisdictions have taken the view that because virtual assets don't pose a threat to financial stability, they haven't developed their own frameworks. But so these are incentives, which means that more and more jurisdictions are now going to look to develop their own regulatory frameworks to deal with virtual assets and virtual asset service providers. So what we want to do is offer our expertise to help other governments, help other regulators be able to develop their own frameworks to safely supervise, authorize virtual asset service providers. So, and again, the expertise that we bring to the table will allow them to and support them in developing sort of the whole life cycle. So from developing their own strategies, developing their own policies in relation to virtual assets, how to implement those strategies, how to draft, how to develop legislation, working with the regulators, as I said before, supporting them, helping them understand the type of skills they need to bring into the teams, what's the most effective and efficient way in which to supervise, to authorize these entities, and also work with, as you said before, with virtual asset service providers and the private sector. In Gibraltar, we see our role working more in terms of what we want to do is we want to work with the local advisors in Gibraltar. So we think that our expertise, our background, will complement the services that existing advisors.
So improve the infrastructure which is available to new businesses coming into the space.
Yeah,
I see. Okay, Nicky, thank you very much for coming on Blockchain Rock. Thanks for chatting with us, and we wish you the best for you and xReg Consulting.
Thank you very much.